You unlock your front door after another grinding day at work and step into the familiar hush of your apartment. Everything looks exactly as you left it. Shoes lined up, cushions fluffed, television remote balanced on the armrest, until your eye snags on a single glaring absence. The velvet jewelry box perched on your dresser stands open like a mouth mid-scream, its satin interior indented where a necklace should be. Not just any necklace, your grandmother's heirloom, a gold filigree chain studded with rose-cut diamonds carried across borders during the partition and entrusted to you with trembling hands. In the instant you register the void, your pulse rockets and your thoughts cannon from disbelief to certainty. Someone has stolen it. Your mind races through the roster of people who set foot inside the apartment. The delivery boy who lingers at the doorway, the nosy neighbor who borrows sugar. No, none of them had a key. Only one person possesses that privilege, the maid Anita, the woman who arrives every weekday at 7:30 sharp, who hums Hindi film songs while swabbing the marble floor, who knows where every saucepan, spare battery, and overdue electricity bill hides. You remember her gentle smile when she handed you your morning chai only hours ago, and you feel a crack of betrayal you almost taste on your tongue. Panic churns into action. You ransack drawers, upend laundry baskets, and peer into dusty corners of cupboards you haven't opened in months. Each new negative suctions more air from the room. By the time your spouse rushes home, the house looks burglarized by its own occupants and you are holding back tears under quivering eyelids. Your 15-year-old daughter, fresh from online classes, says she heard Anita's key turn in the lock long after the maid should have left. And that small statement firms into the story you begin telling yourself. Anita took the necklace. The neighbors fertilized the suspicion within minutes. Mrs. Joshi from 4B, leaning over the stairwell like an oracle of doom, claims she saw the maid exit with a heavy-looking bag. A WhatsApp group meant for festival greetings erupts with cautionary tales about domestic staff who succumbed to temptation. When the police arrive, because of course you called them, precious family heritage is missing. The officer's questions push Anita into the spotlight. She returns the next morning carrying her stainless steel lunch tiffin, cheerful, unaware of the brewing storm, only to be greeted by stony faces and a uniformed stranger scribbling in a pocketbook. Anita's confusion morphs into terror as you ask where she went after noon the previous day. She explains she finished at her usual time, picked up her son from school and spent the afternoon in her one-room flat across town. The explanation sounds rehearsed to your fearful ears. You notice beads of sweat on her forehead and brand them guilt. The officer asks to search her cloth tote, her locker in the servant quarters basement, even her purse. She nods yes to everything, desperate to prove innocence you've already discounted. Your 8-year-old son watches, eyes wide, absorbing a lesson about power he doesn't yet understand. The search yields nothing, but the absence of evidence feels less convincing than the presence of your dread. You grow impatient, almost angry, because the necklace is still gone, the family heirloom your late grandmother entrusted to you with a blessing and a warning. Keep it safe. Where else could it be? The officer shrugs, writes, "No recovery" in his report, and suggests checking any cameras. Cameras? You realize you have exactly one, a small Wi-Fi unit you installed half a year earlier in the living room after a burglary news segment scared you. You never paid for cloud storage and you haven't opened the app in months. Odds are low, but grasping at straws beats drowning in doubt. That night, after your children fall asleep and the din of gossiping neighbors tapers into BAs, you lean forward. The maid appears, wiping sweat from her brow, tote bag hanging flat and light from her shoulder. She locks the door, jiggles the knob, and disappears toward the elevator. So far, nothing incriminating. Your spouse exhales, but you keep watching. At 12:46 p.m., movement returns. The camera reveals not Anita but your daughter's best friend, Mira, 16, ponytail, school uniform unmistakable. She glances over both shoulders, bends to the potted plant beside the doorframe, and retrieves the spare key you never bothered to move after the last fire drill. Your chest tightens as she slips inside, remaining off-screen for several agonizing minutes. When she re-emerges, her blazer pocket bulges with something that glints when it catches the afternoon sun. She relocks the door, replaces the key beneath the plant, and sprints down the hall. Replaying the clip, you catch small details you once considered harmless. Mira's easy familiarity with your home. The playful times she and your daughter practiced chemistry experiments in the living room. The afternoon you mentioned. Casually, you thought, how priceless that necklace was. The weight of realization slams into you. Anita may have been the only adult with keys, but a teenager armed with knowledge and opportunity walked in and walked out with your heritage clasped in her fist. Guilt burns up your spine, crawling into the roots of your hair. In doubting Anita, you humiliated the person who had shown you the most day-to-day loyalty. The following morning, you invite Anita and her 8-year-old son to sit at the same dining table where you had interrogated her. Words jam in your throat as you apologize. You confess how wrongly you judged her, how the camera revealed the truth. Anita listens, eyes rimmed with unshed tears, but her posture remains folded, guarded. Apology is one thing, erasing hurt is another. You ask her forgiveness, promise to right the wrong, but inside you know some fractures never mend to their original strength. Next comes the excruciating call to Mira's parents. They arrive pale, flustered, hearts somewhere near their throats. You play the footage. Their daughter's name, once spoken with casual fondness in your household, now echoes like glass breaking with each frame. Mira confesses quickly. Online shopping debts, a secret credit card number stolen from her father's wallet, a desperate need to cover dues before discovery. She chose the necklace because she knew its value, and because, in the naivete of adolescence, she assumed pawnshops asked few questions. The police recover the piece just hours before it would have been melted down. The officer notes the irony while sliding the heirloom into your trembling palms. Had you waited one more day to review the footage, the diamonds might have been pried loose, the gold sold as scrap, your family legacy spliced into anonymity. The necklace's return brings relief, but not elation. You place it back in its velvet bed, lock it inside a fireproof safe, and close the cupboard. Yet the sense of security you once assumed has evaporated. Your children witness a flood of complicated emotions. Shame on your faces, sorrow on Anita's, devastation on Mira's parents as they grapple with legal counsel and a troubled child. The story you will recount at future family gatherings is not about a brazen theft foiled by high tech. It is about how quickly fear can turn into suspicion, and how easily suspicion can override years of trust. Days pass. Anita resumes work, but the easy rhythm between you is gone. You catch her glancing at you when she thinks you're not looking, perhaps measuring whether residual doubt still lingers. You overcompensate with politeness, tip extra, gift her groceries, but transactional gestures cannot erase the memory of a police officer rummaging through her purse while neighbors peered from half-open doors. In quieter moments, you replay your own words, sharp, accusatory, damning, and feel a sting. In a rare afternoon lull, Anita tells you she had considered quitting the moment the police left. Not because of embarrassment, she has endured far worse indignities, she says, but because your doubting gaze hurt more than any stranger's suspicion. You feel something buckle inside your chest. You promise her better wages, formal keys logs, a contract with clear terms, but she waves the offers away. What matters most, she explains softly, is not paperwork. It's the recognition of her dignity. When the weekend comes, you sit at your desk and draft a long message for the neighborhood WhatsApp group. You narrate the events start to finish, the missing necklace, the hasty judgment, the camera footage, the real culprit, the apology. You do not sanitize your missteps. The text cursor blinks at the end of your final line. Please remember evidence before accusation. And you hesitate, aware you are placing your own shame on public display. Then you press send. Responses pour in, some supportive, some self-congratulatory, a few defensive about just being cautious. You ignore the noise. Tonight, your conscience needs the quiet that confession affords. In the days that follow, 3 residents reach out privately to ask how to set up affordable cameras. Two inquire about background checks. One hires a new maid and makes sure both she and the watchman sign a duplicate key ledger. You wonder whether these steps stem from newfound respect for domestic staff or simply amplified paranoia. Change, you realize, often begins for the wrong reasons and evolves toward the right ones only if shepherded intentionally. For your own household, you institute transparent practices, no hidden spare keys, valuables stored in a biometric safe, and most importantly, regular conversations about trust with your children. You invite Anita to share tea rather than serve it, swap stories about her son's cricket dreams and your daughter's college applications. Slowly, genuine warmth seeps back, though fractures remain visible like hairline cracks after an earthquake. Cosmetic, perhaps, but reminders all the same. On a crisp Monday morning several weeks later, you clasp the heirloom necklace around your neck, meeting your reflection in the mirror. The gold gleams as brightly as ever, but now it carries extra weight, an invisible alloy of contrition and awareness. You realize the object's true value was never purely monetary or sentimental. It has become a symbol of how swiftly bias can stifle discernment. You silently vow to let the necklace's lesson travel with it to the next generation. Treasures are not measured solely in carats, but in the character we uphold while guarding them. When you finally share this story on your channel, you begin not with the theft but with the moment you misjudged Anita, because that is where the true crime occurred. You ask viewers to imagine the speed at which their own minds reach for the simplest explanation, especially when power dynamics blur empathy. You leave them with the image of the security camera's blinking red light, an unblinking witness that saved an innocent woman's reputation, and pose a challenge. Strive to be that witness for each other, to pause, to gather facts, to remember that dignity, once tarnished, rarely regains its original shine. You close your narration, reminding everyone that technology may expose the truth, but only humans can choose justice over convenience. The like button, the subscribe bell, all those digital trappings pale beside the moral of the tale. If even one person reconsiders a knee-jerk accusation after hearing what happened in your apartment, then the necklace's near loss will have purchased something far more precious than gold. A little more patience, a little more grace, in a world that desperately needs both.